today. So what I'd like to do is jump right into our recipe. We are going to be making some delicious, authentic, real cowboy cornbread, and that's what I call it. The wonderful thing about this is it's cornbread, it's delicious. We're going to make it in a cast iron skillet. It's going to have cheddar and it's going to have jalapeños. It is amazing. So let's not waste any time and let's get started. The first thing I did is preheated the oven to 425 degrees. I'm getting that thing screaming hot, and I'm going to put in my well-buttered cast iron skillet in the oven while we're preparing our batter so that this can get hot and ready to go. Now I'm going to show you a tip to make some homemade buttermilk. I didn't have any on hand, and I really like to use buttermilk when I'm making my cornbread because it gives it such a nice, lovely flavor. So if you don't have any buttermilk on hand, I can show you how easy it is to do that. You're going to take 1 cup of whole milk, and we're going to simply add in 1 teaspoon of white vinegar. And this needs to sit together for about 5 minutes, and it'll have its chemical reaction. That was so easy. There we go. So for those of us who don't keep buttermilk on hand, you can always whip up some real easy in your kitchen. So for today's recipe, we're going to start with our dry ingredients. And don't worry about memorizing all of this because I'll make sure that I detail all the ingredients that you need in our description area below. We're going to go ahead and start today with 1 cup of yellow cornmeal. Now you can use other types of cornmeal. There is a white kind, but traditionally we like to see the bright yellow when we're using our cornbread. So we're going to add that in, and we're going to add in 1/2 cup of flour. Now I'm mixing all my dry ingredients together to make sure they get incorporated. I'm using 2 tablespoons of baking powder and 1 tablespoon of salt. So those all go in there. And while I'm whisking these together, let's talk about the big debate that goes on in my house when we talk about cornbread. We've got savory cornbread, which I call cowboy cornbread, and we have what I call corn cake, is when I add in some sugar and honey and make it a sweet style. But today we're going to be using a savory kind, so we'll mix those all in together. And it looks like my oven's ready. Just let me know. So we have those mixed in there. And now for the wet ingredients. We're going to go ahead and take a stir here. You can see that our milk is starting to thick up and get that buttermilk quality about it, so I love that. We're going to crack 2 eggs into our bowl. Now this recipe, and I know I talk fast, this recipe is a pocket recipe, meaning that I carry it wherever I go. It's not written down, I have it stored up in my head. So that way, no matter where I'm at, if I'm camping or I'm at a guest or at a friend's house or a family member, this is something I can always whip up. And I really love making this for breakfast, but today I'm making it the savory style because we're going to be enjoying it with some simple pinto beans. So when I'm making a pot of beans, because you know every dollar counts these days and food, the prices are just soaring through, I like to add something special on the side to our pinto beans, and this is a delicious way to do that. So we have our 2 eggs that we put in there, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to start to whisk those lightly, just to break them up. When you're working with cornbread, you're going to have 2 bowls going. You'll have your dry ingredients and you'll have your wet ingredients. And your wet ingredients you can be a little more vigorous with, making sure that it's mixed. But once we combine them, you want to just incorporate them together. If you mix this batter too much, you're going to get a really thick, hard hockey puck cornbread, and that's never appetizing for anyone. So to these eggs that we have going on, we're going to add in 3 tablespoons of melted butter. And that gives us a delicious fat content to keep this very, very moist. Great. And if you'll see as I have that mixed together, how easy I'm incorporating it there. And we're going to go ahead at this time and we're going to add in that buttermilk that we prepared. Now you can see that it's gotten a little bit thicker, so I hope that you get a chance to see the consistency there. And we're going to go ahead and add that in. Simple and easy. And this is my little secret. I like to add in a little bit of sour cream. Now sour cream combined with that buttermilk, it has an acidic combination and it really gives a nice fluffy cornbread. So don't skip out on that if you have it on hand. One thing I can also recommend that you do when you're making a savory cornbread is rather than adding regular salt, you can add in some garlic salt as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add these in right now. Ooh, I love making a mess in the kitchen and having fun. And this one is when I get to use all my bowls. Lovely. We're going to go ahead and start to mix that in. And I like to work in the middle of the bowl, working out. You can see how easy it is to incorporate that. Now this is real simple. You could really just put it in a pan and get it baking right now, but I like to go a little bit extra, and I'm going to show you some tricks and tips. And this cornbread is so easy, it's so delicious, you'll never go back to a Jiffy Box mix again once you try my recipe. So now that we have that incorporated, we're going to add in some corn. You can use any kind of corn you like. I like to use fresh corn if I have it, but you can also use frozen corn, or you can use canned corn. If you're using canned corn, make sure that you drain all the liquid off. And we're going to go ahead and add that in now. And I took the time to dice up 2 jalapeños. These jalapeños weren't very spicy. I did a little taste test, so I decided to use 2. But you can always use the spicy little brother, the serrano, if you're looking for more heat. Now I like the smoky taste of the jalapeno incorporated in there because it's not too hot, and it really gives you that authentic cowboy kick that I love with our beans. And lastly, we are going to be using some cheddar cheese. I like to use a full fat content cheese. Again, it just makes it so much more lovely and dense and tasty. So let's go ahead and add that in. Woo! That came together in no time at all. So remember, we popped in that skillet into our oven because we want to preheat it. And that is what's going to give us that golden crust on the outside of the cornbread. And you can see how that really is nice and well blended, and we don't want to overmix it. So at this point, excuse me, I'm going to go ahead and take out that screaming hot skillet we got ready. And you can see that this is going to be my little secret tip. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to cut off some butter. And don't hold back. We want at least a full 2 tablespoons. You can see that sizzling in there. I love to show that off because, golly, look at that. Now the idea of this is that we really want to coat that skillet and giving it that nice bit of butter. When we pour our batter in, you're going to see the butter rise up, and it's going to cover the mix. So let's get started. We want to work quickly before our skillet gets too cool because we're looking for that golden crust. And there we go. Now this is a thick, dense cake, so it won't overflow, and you want to leave in at least a good 1/4 inch around the top. And you'll see that as it cooks, you'll get some cracks along the top, and you'll see the gooey cheese start to bubble out, and that is always delicious. That was easy, guys. Look at that. It's already made and ready for the oven. So since I had our temperature set at 425, I'm going to drop that down to 375, and I'm going to put this back in the oven, and we're going to watch it very closely, and in 18 minutes we're going to pull it out, and we're going to have a delicious bite of cornbread. And look at that, the magic I have. Right out of the oven, hotter than heck. Just kidding, I made one a little bit earlier so you guys wouldn't have to stick around and watch me bake for 18 minutes. But let me show off how delicious this cornbread is. First thing you do is when you take it out of the oven, remember it's going to be hot. We're going to run a knife right around the edge and make sure that it comes. And I'm going to flip it out on a plate so I can show you guys how beautiful it looks. Now this is a recipe that I love to make. I can make it on a grill, I can make it over an open campfire, and I love to make it in the stove, and I hope it looks as perfect as it smells. Okay, so here's a tip. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place my plate right over. We're going to do the magic flip. Oh my goodness, that came out perfect. Look at that. There is no way that anybody isn't going to enjoy that. And the reason I flipped it out is I wanted you to see the crust and how it develops. I'm going to go ahead and stick it back in our warm pan because we are ready to cut into it. And let me show you how delicious it looks inside. Now, cornbread is delicious for breakfast. Sometimes I make it a sweet corn cake, and I'll share that recipe with you next time around. But you can see how dense, how thick that is. Let me show this off a little bit. That looks delicious. Now, I always love extra butter on my cornbread, and I love it with chili beans. I love it in the morning with bacon and eggs. There's so many wonderful ways that you can enjoy cornbread. I'm glad you guys came into the kitchen today. If you ever want to try this great recipe, this is something that will knock the socks off everybody who joins you at the table. They're all going to enjoy eating it. It's a delicious, delicious meal. Put your comments down below. Let us know if you have any questions, and if you have any suggestions, something you'd like to see me prepare, make sure that you let us know about that, because we love cooking New Mexico food. And make sure you subscribe if you haven't. And also remember, I have a lot of other delicious recipes out there that I want you to follow along and take a look at. I'm not holding back on this. Perfect. Love it. Thank you for joining me today. We'll see you guys later.
Oh, that's delicious.